and so then I started to look for working with the animals, but just doing a little different stuff. So I don't know if it's really fair to say I've practiced for 25 years, but I've been. I mean, I haven't left the profession. I'm still in the profession. It's just I was in it very intensely the first 15 years.
Yeah. But still, every moment you're around animals, we're always learning from them. And 15 years, 25 years to be, 15 years, 100 years ago, you might, but she's still very actively working with animals.
Yes.
And so anyway, I asked this and I asked it to you before, but I think it's important for us to help our listeners understand that if it hasn't happened to you, there's a couple things I always want to, if it hasn't happened to you or that you don't know, it probably won't happen. I don't want to scare people into thinking that, oh my gosh, every time you go to a veterinarian. The other flip side of that is it's possible that it has happened to you and you don't know. And that's why a lot of times, so I always ask our veterinarians, have you ever witnessed veterinary malpractice working in the field for as long as you have?
Okay, so where's here? So there's mistakes, right? Okay, so if a person makes a mistake, then is that considered malpractice?
Right.
Because certainly vets make mistakes,
sure.
And then they have a conversation with an owner about, this was not optimal. This is not what we wanted to have happen. However, this is what happened, and this is how we have to proceed from here. And that I think is very much within an honorable relationship, because mistakes happen.
Yeah.
And they can be mistakes that the veterinarian themselves do. It can be a mistake from a technician that falls back to the veterinarian, and there can be a lot of different things that can happen. But certainly, like they say, the cover up is worse than the crime. So when you get to a point where if something, either a mistake or something has happened, and then it's trying to be covered up, that certainly is malpractice. That certainly is not within.
I guess that's probably a better question. Normally, one of our attorneys will help guide us through to know exactly what malpractice is. So I guess a better question for you, because you're not an attorney, so I don't know, is that technically malpractice? I don't know. But have you seen where veterinarians will try to hide or cover up things that they have done that were mistakes?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've asked that question often to many of the veterinarians that have been on. I personally have witnessed it try to get covered up, and those kind of things have happened. So but malpractice is something where, like in Scott's case, not running that test on a drug that the drug has said Convenia wasn't supposed to be given to a dog who had kidney failure, and the veterinarian failed to run the blood test that would have shown the problem. That's where we started dealing with a little bit more of not just a mistake, but more malpractice, because we knew that, a veterinarian should have known. It was written by the company. And so it was, yes, it's a mistake, but it's also.
It wasn't like they thought they were giving something else and it accidentally was that medication. They knew they were giving that medication.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So they failed to follow through and do the procedures that were set before them. So that's where that becomes malpractice. Right. And none of us are attorneys, so we're trying to help explain it a little bit better, because there are mistakes that can happen, and that's not what happened.
Carrie, okay, here comes Christina. There she is.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm struggling over here trying to thank God. We were just trying to explain malpractice in a non-attorney way.
So she probably wanted a really quick answer from me, and I, of course, had to blow it up and draw it out and, and say
I asked her if she's ever seen veterinarian malpractice, and she said Well, welcome. So, Christina Bergstein, Bergstein, right?
Bergsten, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I need to pronounce that correctly. Thank you for joining us. Can
Yeah.
you, while you're here, we'll kind of continue on with that and explain what malpractice is.
Malpractice is the so negligence is everybody owes each other a basic duty of care, being good to one another, and like a car accident. So if I hit you with my car, I'm negligent, right? And then veterinarians are held to a slightly higher standard of negligence, and it's called malpractice. And malpractice is where you deviate from the standard that is acceptable by you and your peers in your area of practice, if that makes sense. So like,
I was trying to fumble through.
Yeah, you know what I was saying. I was just trying to say, well, wait a minute, there are times when a mistake is made by a veterinarian or a veterinary technician in the veterinary hospital, but the mistake is communicated to the owner. This is not what we wanted to have happen. However, because this happened, here's the care we need to go through, and da 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 da. Now maybe there's still malpractice involved, but maybe it just doesn't go anywhere because the communication is remaining between the vet and the owner, and the condition gets handled. Does that, I mean, because that I've noticed that you notice that happening, I don't want to say a lot, but that is probably more prevalent than some mistake happening and then the cover up, and then, oh, we gotta, and then that, because then I was saying, well, that's a little more serious, but it might all fall under malpractice.
I mean, yeah, I would say it all falls under, I would say like anytime a mistake is made, it can be malpractice. Whether or not malpractice is pursued, I think typically rests on customer service. Like I always joke that I wouldn't have a job if people had great customer service. So I think to your point about if a mistake is made and it's communicated to the owner, that a lot of times it's just the veterinarian saying, I made a mistake. I'm really sorry. Here are your options for how to fix it. What would you like to do? That a lot of times then the pet owner isn't as inclined to sue. Whereas if a veterinarian, like you said, makes a mistake, tries to hide it, and then when it comes to light and the pet owner confronts the veterinarian, and the veterinarian then puts salt in the wound by denying it on top of everything else, then like, so I mean, legally, malpractice is always, if there's a mistake made, it very well could be malpractice, but that's where I defer to the veterinarian experts at Joey's Legacy to determine whether or not there was malpractice, because sometimes mistakes can be made, like a misdiagnosis maybe is probably the most common, because it's hard to diagnose pets sometimes because they can't talk to us, right? They can't tell us exactly what their symptoms are. So sometimes veterinarians will try a bunch of different things and they still might miss a diagnosis trying a bunch of different things, but that might not necessarily be malpractice because they did everything they could possibly do to figure out the problem. It's just that maybe the dog or the cat had something really rare that was beyond the scope of that veterinarian, and something that's like beyond the scope of a specific veterinarian might not necessarily be malpractice, unless the veterinarian didn't try a bunch of different things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when you say that they're not, you said the scope of what's normal, of what most veterinarians would do, and you didn't do what most veterinarians did. That's when we start to look into malpractice. Like, oh, I just decided to try this drug that no one else has ever right?
Sure.
Kind of things would be considered probably malpractice. So yeah, so you're, just to get a little bit more in depth with Christina, so you're a attorney in what state?
Colorado.
And so how this works with Joey's Legacy is first the case would go to the veterinarian to review and say, look, this is not, I don't know any veterinarians that would have given that drug without a blood test, if we use Joey as an example. And then once they've said, yeah, I think that's when it would end up on your plate to review as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
And
somebody, oh, sorry.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if somebody comes to me first and says, hey, I think I have malpractice, I'll listen to them and talk to them and say, yeah, you very well might have malpractice, but why don't you go talk to Joey's Legacy and have an expert review it? Because in Colorado, and I assume this is the case in a lot of other states, at least it was in Pennsylvania where I used to practice as well, that you have to get an expert who says yes, who will write their name on a piece of paper saying, yes, this is a deviation of the standard of care. And then that's when you can take it to court. So getting that expert opinion from Joey's Legacy's vets is invaluable.
And
Yeah,
you've seen increase since you started. How long? I know we talked a little bit about your story before, which is amazing when I see these. Both veterinarians and pet attorneys, or animal attorneys, aren't in this for the money. Like I can't, like I know a lot of veterinarians, and none of the veterinarians I know are sitting on billions of dollars. And attorneys like Christina who choose to go after veterinary malpractice, there's not a lot of money to be made in that type of practice. But when we talked about it before, you had talked about how you couldn't believe when you decided to do this how much it's becoming a thing, and a lot of people are willing to fight. Are you still seeing the increase?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. As far like in animal law in general, yes, in animal law in general, I see an increase in people wanting representation for their loved ones, whether that's veterinary malpractice or like pet custody or defending against unfair animal laws and their so yeah, I mean in general I see an increase for sure.
Yeah. But what's standing, like, to a pet parent, I took my dog into the veterinarian. The veterinarian gave him a drug that he wasn't supposed to be giving him. My dog died. I should be getting some kind of compensation for that. Where's the block? What's making it hard for veterinarians to have these obvious veterinarian malpractice cases that kind of don't go anywhere or do very little to change it? What's our block?
The biggest block is just pets are property. I'm not aware of any state where pets are equal to people, and or that pets are anything more. I guess the better way to say it is, there's no state where pets are more than a car or a couch, or I mean, really value wise, a lot of people get pets from shelters and they pay what $100 to get a pet, maybe. And so like maybe a pair of tennis shoes has more value than some pets under the law, and that's our biggest block, I think.
And that's where Joey's Legacy is having this documentary made, trying to get those laws, or what we're trying to get changed, so that it'll be easier to go after the bad veterinarians who are continually, and we've seen it right with Joey Scott, when you went all the way through the case with Joey, you found out that veterinarian had multiple charges.
Right. And those are just the ones that were sustained.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what was dismissed. Joey was the third sustained complaint against this veterinarian in a 6-year period. And never was the license suspended. In fact, in Joey's case, the veterinarian went up during his at the final hearing at the quarterly meeting and wept like a child. And they actually dismissed count 1, which was practice below the standard. They retained count 2, which was record keeping violations. He didn't document vital signs properly. He didn't document the dose of the convenia that he gave, those types of things. And for that, a $2,000 fine, a year probation, which is in Florida meaningless. I don't know about any other state. He can continue to practice, and 5 record inspections during the following year, which of course they don't come out and do surprise inspections. They just say, just send us 5 of your records and we'll review them. Well, there's plenty of time to make sure everything is cool before they send the records. So there's really no oversight. And until vet boards are dismantled and restructured, there won't be, unfortunately. So we have to find our own way.
Dr. Haddad?
You can tell
I can feel this burning, like, please.
Well, I just want to say, I think that you would find at least right around me. I mean, veterinarians are almost as frustrated with our veterinary boards as you probably are,
I'm sure.
because there are a lot of problems with us trying to get our things done, and just things that don't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, when I go to try to fill out paperwork and send it in and try to follow the rules, and then they come back and go, "Why'd you fill that out? Why'd you send this that?" And I'm like, "Well, because I saw on the paper that this form was needed, so I'm sending it to you." Well, we don't need that. And oh, okay, that's fine. And then 2 months later, well, where's that form? I mean, it's just it's beyond crazy for us too. So yeah, having a better, talking about communication, just having a better, more streamlined everything. And I know right now, I mean, I know California's hiring people to do the inspections in several counties that, so they're obviously, I remember calling somebody, having going through all this and saying, oh my gosh, like, I left message weeks ago, what is happening over there? And the girl answering the phone says, we're really like shorthanded. And I said, well, really? Like, you can't get any help? And so I don't know exactly what's going on, but I do know that it's frustrating for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to look any farther than the structure of the veterinary board. I'll speak to Florida because I do have that experience. 5 veterinarians, all practicing, or at least the last time I took a look, 5 practicing veterinarians and 2 consumer advocates. The 2 consumer advocates are just shills for the veterinarians. So you really have the minds of 7 veterinarians on that board. And all that does is guarantee a biased outcome in favor of the accused. Because after all, if if it wasn't self-governing, the would be different, and we might not even be sitting here today. But all of these problems exist. They continue to exist, and until there's some substantive changes, we're all going to keep doing what we're doing. Christina's going to keep doing what she's doing. I want to keep doing what I'm doing, and our vet team will keep doing what they're doing. Unfortunately.
No, we'll keep doing it. I just want to interrupt really quick, Lori, if you can hear me. You have a question that came across from Kathy Barron, but I'm a little confused as to what the question. My actual confusion is that she says that that her pet went in and then something about the kidneys, but then went on to live. So, and then she says she felt guilty. So I'm a little confused about that. If you could help me out and get that question a little bit. But in the meantime, and I'm sorry that I'm like kind of getting real close to my screen, but I'm blind as a bat. Connie Pletner, I have a question. My vet did blood work in July of last year. This is going to be for you, Dr. Haddad. In July of last year, and my dog's liver enzymes were high, but he said he said he doesn't worry about it until it's very high. So this year in March, I took her back to blood work where the liver enzymes were off the charts. He wasn't too concerned, but did send us this to a specialist where he found out she has advanced liver. Would this be this is actually for you, Christina. Both of you, is this considered negligence?
It's a little hard to answer that without knowing how high, like what exactly were the values. And there are multiple liver values. There are multiple things in a blood test that point to the liver. So sometimes when you see 2 of those, you really are thinking of one condition where you might see one of them. And does it say how old
No,
the pet is? So
no.
So it's a little hard to say without seeing what the numbers actually are.
I think obviously I'm assuming. Connie, if you're listening, please type in some more and keep giving us more information. But in the meantime, if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like the liver enzymes, you went in, they were high. You had a second one, they were higher. I think my concern would be, did he do anything different? He's watching the enzymes raise, but are we doing any other testing?
Well, and I'll tell you from a veterinarian standpoint, I don't know what the vet said. If he said, let's recheck these in 3 months and that wasn't done,
Right.
or if he'd said, you know, let's recheck it in a year kind of is a little long to be checking something that you might think is abnormal. You don't want to necessarily, a year in a dog's life, is it a dog or a cat? A year in an animal's life is a little longer than a year in a person's life.
That's
I mean,
true. Yeah.
So generally, if you're wanting to recheck things, a lot of times you're telling people, let's recheck this in a month or 2 months.
So
So I don't know
Christina,
about that.
if we use this as a hypothetical case, since we don't have enough information, but as a hypothetical, if a client were to bring in a pet and say, oh, I'm not worried about that, and to only later find out that this animal actually has a very serious condition with
progressing.
Yeah, and it's just been progressing, but the vet kept poo-pooing it. And I'm not necessarily talking about this case because I don't know enough about it, but let's assume everything just at face value. Would that be considered negligent?
I mean, under those facts that you described, my gut is, because again, I'm not a veterinarian, so this is, I would, even if it seems crystal clear, I would still send them to Joey's Legacy to get that expert opinion. But I mean, based on those facts, if you're checking, and things are still abnormal over a period of checks, and they're still saying, oh, don't worry. I mean, yeah, I think more likely than not that you're looking at a case of malpractice. Especially if something adverse happened to the animal at the end, they you know, that they died or something very serious and irreversible occurred as a result of the disease. So yeah, I mean, repeated checks where nothing is done, I think is prime grounds for malpractice. But that's again where I caution people that if you're going to a veterinarian and repeatedly they're saying, oh, there's something abnormal here, but don't worry about it. I mean, I would say, you know, the second time that happens, at least go get a second opinion, because a lot of times I'll hear from people, well, I trusted this veterinarian, and it's like, well, yeah, I would too, because they're an expert, right? They went to school for this, they've been doing this. Like, yes, you would trust the veterinarian's opinion. But if, again, like if something doesn't feel right and they're saying in like the second or third time you go and they're saying, yeah, things are abnormal, but it's not that big of a deal, I would go and get a second opinion. It doesn't hurt, you know, and yeah, especially if you can afford to do it, then I really think you should.
And that's something too that I was just thinking, is it, you know, was the pet symptomatic at the time, or was it completely normal? It was just a finding that they saw, oh, these are, your pet's fine, but your blood work looks weird. Because at that point, honestly, many times, and I would have said, you know, we can do an ultrasound, but that tacks about $400 onto their bill, and we can do an ultrasound and look at their liver and see what's going on. And I don't know if that was recommended and they didn't want to do it, but then if the pet was symptomatic, that's a long time to wait to be rechecking it. And
I'm
so
trying to read this next question.
Yeah,
this is so bad. But this is a very interesting question that I hadn't even considered as being a thing. But thank you so much for this question. This comes from Honey, and she says, her question is for you, Christina. If everything worked against the deceased pet owners to prove the malpractice with a vet expert, and if she or he wants to get his or her money reimbursed based on rightful reasons, such as late, more than 2 weeks, delivery of health records, so I guess it took them 2 weeks to give the health records to her, despite several written requests accompanied with other wrongdoings by the vet, how effective could this reimbursement request letter legally be? That's her first question.
So, I mean, from my personal experience, every time I have sent a letter, we have gotten at least the out-of-pocket costs reimbursed. More often than not, we also get additional monies to the pet owner. I couldn't tell you what the statistics are on someone writing the letter themselves because I'm not involved with it. So, I mean, I certainly think that if you can't afford to hire an attorney, it's definitely better to write a letter than not, because insurance agents will want it because insurance agents are so difficult to deal with. They're just so difficult to deal with. They really test my patience. But if you can put it in writing and like you can have something that shows like these are my expenses and like itemize everything, then that's very helpful for the insurance agent because they're so difficult. They take so long. So, I mean, yeah, if you can't afford it, I would always recommend you get an attorney. But if you can't afford one, then writing a letter yourself would be advisable.
So I have a question based off of that.
Yeah.
Question, but if you were the attorney for a veterinarian that won their case, like in this situation, there was a veterinarian who, you know, someone lost. If you were the attorney for that veterinarian and then the client sent a demand letter to get their money back at least, would you recommend him to give the money back? Or you already won the case, why would you give the money back? Wouldn't that make the veterinarian feel like that's admission of guilt even though he won in court? Doesn't make any sense.
So yeah, I guess I'll repeat back what I understood. So if you're saying that I'm the attorney for the veterinarian and we won a lawsuit,
right?
And then
this question is saying is that
everything sided with the veterinarian and sided against the pet owner.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand that. Yeah, I mean, if there's already been a lawsuit and the pet owner lost, I mean, it's not worth it to do anything because, I mean, yeah, because nobody's going to get any money. They're like, yeah, you're not going to get any money.
I think what she's trying to say is that she lost the case because they didn't give her the records fast enough. And so I think she wants to now say, fine, I lost my malpractice against you, but possibly can you at least give me my money back for what you did to my dog? But I'm thinking an attorney would tell a veterinarian, no, don't give the money back.
Yeah, I wouldn't even respond to that person. That would be, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks shouldn't have lost the case. I mean, 2 weeks isn't, it depends on the laws of the state. Like here in Colorado, it doesn't say how much time they have to give you the records in. It's not like it says, oh, you have to give records within 30 days or something. It just says you have to give them their records when the pet owner asks. But either way, I mean, 2 weeks isn't, I've heard of longer.
Okay.
But yeah.
So there's quite a few questions in here.
Yeah.
What does a consultation for an attorney generally for something like this cost?
That's hard to say. I mean, my consultations are 30 minutes. They're free for 30 minutes. Anything after that, if you want to talk about your case further, then I charge $250 an hour. I've heard that's pretty common for most attorneys for a consultation fee. Some attorneys charge a consultation fee right out the door. Like you have to pay the fee to talk to them at all, period. But so it just depends on what attorney you're working with. But probably $250 to $300, I think would probably be what you're looking at.
And then does an attorney absolutely have to be an animal rights attorney, or could any attorney take on a case like this?
I would say you're probably looking at, yeah, I mean, any attorney could do it. I think other attorneys might, fumble the ball a little bit along the way, but I'm sure they could figure it out. But you're probably looking at you wouldn't want to do a personal injury attorney, I don't think. I think you'd be looking more at like a property attorney or maybe a contracts attorney or a consumer protection type attorney.
Because there's not a lot of people practicing this.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea, you probably don't want a divorce attorney.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Or a criminal defense attorney. You don't want them either under any circumstances.
And I know this is another question is, does attorney have to be in the same state as where the pet was deceased?
Yes, because I've had people call me from out of state and I can't, I mean, I can write a letter, but like if I have somebody wanting me to write a letter for Montana, I could write a letter, but it doesn't have any teeth because they know I can't do anything to them in Montana. I can't bring a lawsuit against a Montana vet because I'm in Colorado and I'm not licensed in Montana. So you definitely want to get an attorney in the state where you live. And also, too, attorneys, technically, I could get in trouble for writing a letter to someone in Montana threatening them with legal action when I'm not licensed to practice in Montana. So I would never do that for that reason, but some attorneys might do it if they feel bad for you, but they'd be kind of risking their license to help you out. So I don't know that that'll happen very often.
Well, is an attorney.
Well, that's right.
I mean, you know, if a family member or somebody, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if that.
Oh, yeah.
She's an attorney, but I've never asked her for anything.
Well, thank God. Right. So I hope, Merv, that answered some of your questions. Lori is still trying to get some clarifications on the other question that came through because I wasn't. Did you read that at all? Were you guys able to read that from Kathy? She was asking something about her kitty, but the cat survived for a long time after they had told her that he had, I think, kidney failure, but it didn't say kidney failure. So we're trying to get clarification on that. In the meantime, prior to us coming live, we had a little discussion about possibly talking about this tonight. So we have a little bit of time. And if anyone's listening, get your questions in because we are going to kind of do a hard stop here at 6 o'clock. But I wanted to talk a little bit about a dog in the book that this is the first volume. Remembered, sadly, J.L. Robb is working on volume 2, which is just heartbreaking to think that we can keep writing these books forever and ever and ever. And they're all filled with cases of pets who have lost their lives and have gone through, you know, Joey's legacy and been able to prove veterinary malpractice. So that's when I say it's sad that this keeps going because these are proven cases. This isn't just people. Sometimes people get very emotional, but so in my reading, I was reading about a story of a dog named Taro, right?
Yes.
It's Taro. It's Taro, right? I don't want to mispronounce this dog's story, but his owner's name were Marie and Chip, and Taro passed away. But what I found really interesting in this part of it is that the author writes in here, and I'm just going to read real quickly. She says, ultimately, the ER doctor came to see us. We were in shock, and he strongly recommended to not have a necropsy. And the overall feeling seemingly was lack of empathy and compassion when we truly needed it the most. So it's hard for me to imagine a veterinarian trying to steer you away from a necropsy. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today. And you know, a lot of times on this roundtable, we talk about the importance of getting your records, the importance, right? Christina, we've talked about it before. You have to get those records. We can't do anything without the records. So even in your most dire moments, you have to have that thought of, I just want my records. Even if it turns out nothing went wrong, get your records. But what do you do in a case where, you know, the body is still at the veterinarian hospital and they say, oh, we'll cremate for you and we'll take care of it. And if you want to get a necropsy, I had talked a little bit with Dr. Haddad about why would there be a reason to not recommend? I'm thinking if I was going to be accused of killing a pet, I would want the necropsy. So why would a veterinarian not want it?
Because they're accused of killing a
Because
pet.
you're accused of killing a pet.
That was what we said right before. I said,
yeah.
The only thing I can imagine an honorable veterinarian saying to somebody in this situation is a necropsy may not give you the answers. They don't always give us the answers, and they are expensive. That's it. I can't think of any other downfall to doing it. It is unfortunate that in the most heightened part of your grief, you are so limited in time because something has to be done with that body, because they will store for a little while, but you gotta make a decision pretty quick if you do want a necropsy, because let me tell you, there are other things you think. I mean, there are times when their bodies are cremated accidentally, or oh, it was on hold but it accidentally went with the group, and now you have no option of a necropsy. So if it is a situation where a necropsy would be helpful, or if you're just willing to spend the money and you just want to know, even if there are no answers, I just want to know, then you really should decide that very quickly, and do whatever it takes to make that happen. And I hate to say it, because even my friend who was a classmate of mine, she's a veterinarian, and when her dog passed away, she wanted a private cremation, and she filled out all the paperwork, and they, took all of her information, and oops, they called her, and accidentally he was in a group cremation, so she did not get her ashes back, and so it happens. And so again, this is all things we're talking about, but those, are they accidents? Do they happen on purpose? I certainly don't want to speak to what people's intentions are. However, it would be a pretty easy thing to say, oops, it got out with the group that went out this morning. And
Is there any, this Dr. had, and probably to Christina as well, if you know the laws, but if I brought my pet in to have, I don't know, his dental work done and he passed away, and I show up and they say he passed away, is there any laws preventing the veterinarian from giving me the dog right then and there, or any laws in me taking as just a person? I know you're not supposed to bury your dogs in the backyard. Right. I know that's against the law. So can I drive around in my car with my dog who passed away? I'm trying to prevent, if somebody asks asks a veterinarian, them saying, oh, it's against the law. Is it against the law?
Not that I'm aware. I mean, not that I'm aware of, to give the body back unless they suspect there's some sort of communicable disease. I would assume. I don't, like you said, I mean, I know there are laws, you can't bury your dog in your backyard, but other than, I mean, I'm not aware of any laws that prevent them from giving the dog back to you, but they might say because of health and safety reasons, we're not allowed to. That's when I might say then that the pet owner should say, well, then you hold my dog in storage and I'm going to call someone to have them come pick up the dog for a necropsy. Because
Dr. Haddock, they accidentally.
Oh, right.
Right. That's why I'm saying, I think I want my dog right now so I could get the necropsy done.
Well, and there may be, who knows what would be available in any area. I know that for instance, when I would do home euthanasias, now I know this is a totally different situation because we're at the people's homes. Again, they weren't allowed to bury them in the backyard, but we had they could select owner to transport, so they could transport their dog to the crematorium or to the pet cemetery or to the place that they wanted to use. They could do that, but again, that was such a different situation. In fact, I can't even think of a time that had happened that the pet would have been going for a necropsy.
So just really, really quick, I just want to clarify, necropsy is basically an autopsy for animals. We didn't define that. So people are like, what's that? Right. But as a veterinarian, your license doesn't force you not to give that pet to someone. If someone brought in a dog to you and had them euthanized and asked to take their pet with them, are you legally allowed to give them their pet? Or is there something that would prevent you from doing that?
I'm not aware of anything. I actually did that once very long time ago. My dog was very, 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 very old and he just couldn't make it anymore. And so we elected to euthanize him, and the veterinarian let us take the dog home. for transport. We ended up burying him in the backyard, but don't tell anyone. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. This was a long time ago in another life in another state. So before I was an attorney. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, like I'm not aware of anything that prevents them legally from giving you your pet back.
No, I think you're right about though. If there's nothing suspected of anything that could transmit a disease, um, and just of and if they
Like
agree
grading
that
is
they are taking them to the place,
to be
that,
euthanized,
yeah,
or
to
to get the
be
necropsy
right, to,
euthanized.
to have aftercare. To whatever the aftercare is.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened with Joey. They euthanized him, and they said, "What do you want us to do with the body? Do you want to take him? Do you want us to send him to the crematorium?" So we obviously had the option, and just to the of requesting a necropsy. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Hopefully, everybody understands that a necropsy should be done by an independent veterinarian and not by the veterinarian where the suspected allegations of, obviously. Uh,
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd throw that in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great point. Yeah.
Just try to set our listeners up for, if you find yourself in the situation, friends find themselves in the situation, what you need to do. And yeah, absolutely independent. I remember years ago when dogs were dying all across this country, dogs and cats, both were dying from the melamine that was put into the pet food industry, and all these dogs were dying. And I had a couple of my own clients' dogs were dying from eating these foods, and one in particular got really sick, went in, died, and then, or no, I'm sorry, spent a couple of days in the hospital. They were managed to bring the dog back to life. Then she came home, fed, not knowing what it was. No one was able to find it out. She fed him the same food out of the refrigerator, and she came home at lunchtime, and the dog had died. Ate his breakfast, and he was right on. He was still weak, and then she just gave him some more of the poison. My point is, this poor lady, she was the nicest lady, and she sent the food to the company to test it, and they of course came back and said there's nothing in it. So
Right.
and I remember thinking, we never want to do that. You can't trust. You have to
Sure.
have a person doing. Yeah, it was really sad. So I'm sure that food had the melamine in it. It was on the list of foods that had it in it, but they gave a report saying it didn't. So it's important we get these tests, we do these things, and we can't bury our dogs in the backyard.
Yeah. No matter what state you're in.
That is, I just had, this is actually a really kind of sad story. I just had a client dog for me that was going to go be euthanized, and she wanted to get him his last bath, and so that he would be presented and be buried, ready for heaven when he went. And so, anyway, he passed away in my facility. He never made it to the vet. He was supposed to get his bath at 1 o'clock, and he was getting euthanized at 3, but he passed away around 11:30 at my business. And so when she came to pick him up, I know it was very devastating for everybody. And his dog I've been taking care of for years, so it was really sad. His name was Rocky, and he's a little King Charles Cavalier. When she picked him up, she says she wants to bury him in the backyard. And I told her, you can't do that. But here's the thing, I also told her, keep in mind, one of the reasons they don't want you burying your dogs in the backyard is because wild animals can come and dig them up.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see that. So it's not,
Right.
it's something you really need to know, that you don't want your children to see that. You don't want to do that. So
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely a bad idea. Yeah.
trust me, I wish I had my own little cemetery in my backyard, because I have, my 2 little dogs are sitting right here. So, all right, let's move on a little bit, because we're coming up on that 1 hour. Important, what we need to do, right? We've talked about it, Christina, Dr. Haddad, Scott, we've talked about it. If we don't get these laws changed, then we can't go after these vets that are doing veterinary malpractice. And then we're just sitting here talking. And that's not why we're here. We're talking because we want to make change. We want to make a difference. And one of the ways we need to do that is to get this documentary made. So Scott, how is that coming along? The documentary is pretty much what we need. How's it coming?
Well, John already started producing the documentaries and he did my interview, he did Jerry Rob's interview, and a couple of other people that he in his inner circle. Um, he plans on interviewing. Originally, it was 20. I think he's got 11 to 15 members of the group that have stories in the book that are going to tell their story to him as part of the documentary. We are currently near $30,000 in donations. Um, he quoted, pardon?
We need 100,000, correct?
Well, that was the original quote. We're trying to figure ways to accomplish the same thing, maybe for a little bit less money, so we can get this thing started in earnest. So that's what we're working on, and the whole idea is this is not a hit job on the veterinary profession. Obviously, this is a focus on a certain subset of that profession that, and including the vet boards that choose to do things their way, not in the best interest of the pet parents, and just basically in their own self-serving interests, which is clearly not fair to a lot of people. So at this point, we're just trying to expose that and at least educate people that this is really going on. Um, if you have an encounter with a vet board, it's probably not going to be a smooth encounter. It'll take a while, and don't have any grand expectations of a positive outcome just because you're in the right with what
Right.
you're complaining about.
Mm.
So, we're moving forward, we're making progress, but we'll just see how it goes. We're hoping by the end of the year, perhaps maybe a third of the documentary will already be produced. Maybe more, I have no idea. It just depends how donations flow and how much interest we can get from. Actually, we've approached a few celebrities. We have one that if she decides to be a spokesperson for us, then we'll announce. Uh, but we're working on the celebrity angle. These are all animal advocates beside being, uh, actors and actresses and, uh, singers and that kind of thing. So there's more to come on that, but we're just going to do the best we can and hopefully we'll get this done. And all I can tell you is as long as you do it, and Christina can chime in here if she'd like, legally and with a great deal of wisdom, there are ways to tell your story publicly, as was in the book, and other ways that will let the public know what kind of an experience you had. And so basically, exposure is what I'm going. And
Yeah.
Christina might be able to talk a little about that.
About
Yeah. I mean,
No,
my
I mean,
biggest
don't. In other words, if you're going to expose someone, you have to do it without exposing yourself to a defamation claim or label slander. You can't
Yeah.
just go say Dr. Jones killed my dog, or don't take your dog to ABC Animal Hospital. It's a slaughterhouse. You have
Yeah.
to you have to just state irrefutable facts that
Yeah.
can't be contested. That's really what I'm trying to say.
it's true
Well
because we who are in the pet industry, Dr. Haddad, myself, all the veterinarians that are on this, I think we've all, I don't know anybody, maybe Dr. Haddad could say differently, but I don't know anybody that hasn't been a victim of emotions and blaming. And that's what you're saying, Scott, is before you emotionally think something happened, you need to have the facts.
Absolutely,
You're
absolutely,
opening yourself up to a defamation case, and that
absolutely,
could end up costing you, and then really turning the death of your animal into something so much worse right now.
definitely.
So
You become the bad guy.
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yep.
and then you're taking your pets, the love of your pet, and turning it into, it's not
Right.
going to be good. Really, really make sure you have the facts, because it's hard. It's hard when you lose your pet. You so badly. Dr. Haddad and I have talked about it. You want it to be someone's fault because it feels better if it's someone else's fault, but a lot of times it's sadly not someone else's fault. We've talked about that. It's not usually it's not the veterinarian's fault.
Not every is do they find negligence or malpractice? You know, probably 6 out of 10 they do, but it's it's near 50-50.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the ways that we can donate?
The simplest way is just go to joeyslegacy.org /donate, and you can $5 or whatever you want. Yeah, and it's much appreciated. All donations obviously go toward the documentary.
Right, and you're a 501c, correct?
501c3, correct. Correct. Donations are tax deductible.
Okay, I would just like to say that I donate every day, not because every day I go to joeyslegacy.com but because I shop on Amazon every day.
Right.
So, I am connected to Smile, and Joey's Legacy is where I am donating to. So every time I purchase something, which I don't know if that's good that I just admitted I'm a bit of a shopaholic, and sometimes it's 50 cents. I bought a plant and 50 cents went to Joey's Legacy, but I shop a lot.
I want 50 cents. Can I just say something about when you were talking about out of the people that come to Joey's Legacy and how maybe not all of them are found to be negligent. I would just hope that the people who maybe are on the other side of that, maybe if it's not found that it was negligence or something, that at least get some comfort in some explanation or some more information coming to them about what transpired. And that it should have happened a long time ago, I guess, or before they got to this point. But hopefully that would happen as well.
Well,
to get some with.
I will tell you that I am copied, not at my request, because the member will copy me along with their communication with the vet that they're referred to. I have a policy of if the first vet determines, say it this way, the first vet's views don't align with the members. In other words, the vet says nothing to see here. The member will come back to me. What do I do now? I said, well, we've got 9 vets. You want number 2 and number 3 until you're satisfied. By the third, and I can recall one time in 4 years where vet number 1 and vet number 2 completely disagreed. All 3 vets are going to agree that there's nothing to see. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Now at least I feel like I've done as much as I could for my companion animal. And and that some of them work out.
I would, that's all I want to say is I just
I'll write the letter. Off it goes to the attorney.
So we're gonna wrap this up, but before we go, I know that the big like Joey, and are you there, Scott? We're losing you a little bit. So Kathy had come on to clarify a little bit, and I think it's important that we make sure we mention this because the loss of a pet can be so devastating, Kathy, and I'm so sorry to hear all of what happened. But she did write back to us, and she said she mostly was just sharing her story, and she said that that she was just hurt and angry when it happened. The veterinarian had cut the tip of his penis off during the neuter, and she said she had bad kidneys and needed to be euthanized. And so, but she didn't euthanize her pet, so her pet went on to live quite a few years. And so, but going through that process is very devastating. So I just wanted to make sure that we got that clarified, Kathy. I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I'm sure. Yeah.
You probably gave him a great home.
Probably
sounds like
great home. I mean, all these years later, she's still. I know that probably was super devastating, Christina.
I don't know.
Totally unscripted.
Totally unscripted. She's like, this is normal, right? Like this is.
Yeah, I'm usually writing court documents and I'm batting tails out of my face.
why you're a pet law attorney, because that is normal to you to have your pet tail in your face.
They're my support staff. What can I say?
They are what my dog was barking through the first part of this, so I'm like, okay, whatever. Wait, Christina, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and
Thank you
continue
guys.
to be a part of Joey's legacy. It's amazing. So without you, the attorneys that are on here, it just, we wouldn't be making a change, and it's a change that needs to happen. So thank you for being part of this tonight.
Yeah,
So,
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I think we lost Scott a little bit. He was having some Wi-Fi problems, so I'm just going to turn to my good friend over here, Dr. Haddad. Thank you so much, Dr. Haddad, coming on here again and just helping us understand a little bit more about the veterinarian field. And well, it's hard. It's hard to come out against what you know is happening and walk that line, right? And we know that most veterinarians are amazing. We know this, but we have to go after some of the ones that are not doing right, because often it results in death of animals needlessly.
And that's just not what we want. It really needs to be, it needs to be more.
Yeah, there needs to be more going
for
on.
the good stuff.
So. Scott, of course, it's always a pleasure being part of your organization and helping it get out there and just growing and seeing the numbers grow. It's weird because I don't want to see the numbers grow, because usually they're growing because more deaths are happening. But at the same time, I'm hoping we're going to get to that plateau. The change will happen, and then it'll dip back down. So,
thank you very much. Appreciate your participation in all of these, and we'll see daylight one day for sure.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Everybody, if you have been listening to us over the last few months, please share this everywhere. Any platform that you think, talk about it. You can purchase t-shirts from Joey's Legacy. You can buy things you could go to Amazon, you can donate, but if you don't have the money to donate, just please share as much as you can. Get it out there. If you belong to groups, share it in the groups. Even if they don't accept it, please share, because the more people we have behind us, and you never know who that one person who's just going to say enough's enough, and we can use all the support we can get to change the laws. It's kind of a no-brainer to pet lovers. What do you mean they're only property? Like, we're baffled by that, and that's what needs to change. So we need the support. So please make sure that you share this with all of your friends and family and all of your social medias. It makes a big difference. And if you can donate, please make sure to donate. I swear to you, it matters to us, even if it's $1. It will matter. It's growing. So all right, everybody, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.